Hi everybody, just dropping a really short video on to just talk a little bit about more words. It just sort of came up in a conversation and I thought, oh, you know what, I'm just going to explain my reasons around why this is a word that I don't use. So my word of choice today, my phone just popped up and told me something and then disappeared. My word of discussion today is the word birthday, and I'm going to go into this a little bit without going too much down the rabbit hole of birth certificates and the like. Because if you want to go down the rabbit hole of birth certificates and all that stuff, please go down that rabbit hole because it's enlightening. But anyone who knows me knows that when I pop on and wish them happy birthday, I don't use the word birthday. I use the word solar return. I say happy solar return or that's all I say, but it is an anniversary. It's an anniversary of life, and I don't think people quite get why I don't say birthday. So it goes back to the rabbit hole of there being a connection between the word birth, that is giving birth, the birth canal, and a suggestion or idea that there are control systems in the world that wish to have us under control, that the birth certificate is a registration document, which it is, to the crown, pretty much, basically, and go dig this rabbit hole. That is basically putting us under a rule that takes away our own power, our own sovereignty, our own living in our power, and then everything that comes down from that is our being controlled, whether it's through education, whether it's through the medical system, whether it is through the governmental systems of the world, all of that. Once we've had our birth registered, we then end up in this catalogue of system control for the rest of our lives, that's connected to being a ship, really. Being basically under the law of sea rather than under the law of man, the law of humanity, the law of God, if you want to go there. Innate human rights. And yeah, it's a big rabbit hole and you can go down there. I welcome you to, I encourage you to, because the more people who know this shit, the more sooner we can stand up in our sovereignty and in our power as individuals, as people, as men and women, as people who know that we are no longer standing in that control. And as we move out of the dark ages of the Piscean era into the era of Aquarius, then yeah, it's the time to go do it. Go do that research. But anyway, I don't choose to use the word birthday, and that is why, because the word birth is connected to ships and boats, and I'm not a fucking ship, and neither are you. And neither are my girls, neither is my husband, neither are my friends, neither are my acquaintances, neither is anyone else that I know in family, in extended circles, in the circles that I'm in, the sister circles, the communities, tribes, whatever you want to call it. And I know that we can pick at these words lots, and we can, there's good things and bad things about the words, but a lot of that then is in with, because I've just looked this up because I'm about to start talking a little bit about a inner child healing process that I'm creating, that I've already created, but that I'm going to be running next year. And I wanted to like get into the word child because that's connected to it, and the word parent because that is connected to it, and looking at the history of when them words became used in, and the word birth is the same. When you look at when the word birth began to be used, it's all part of it. And you want to go down the like history's completely wrong rabbit hole as well, I encourage that too, because those words child, parent, birth weren't used in Old English prior to around the time where the church were encouraging the leaders of the church to make records of births, deaths and marriages. And like the birth certificate as we know it wasn't brought in until I think like 1830 something, when it was brought in as a registration under the crown of here in the UK anyway. But the thread weaves through into a lot of other countries where birth certification is normal practice. Most of those countries belonged to the British Commonwealth at one time or another, and this was when those words began to be used. Before that, and it's not a word I'm going to start using, but it's there in my like vocab, is bairn or bairn, or however you want to say it, depends on where you're from, your accent, your dialect. But bairn is still used here in the UK, in Scotland and Ireland, in northern parts of the country where, like, I was born in Cumbria, which is like really northwest of England, and the northeast. Bairn is still a commonly used term, and it's returning to more common practice. There's like a little graft on etymology, whatever, where I do some of my research into words. Can't remember if it's like .com or .org, can't remember. But on the etymology website that I use, there's a little graft of popularity of words, and it's actually coming back up, the use of the word bairn, which I thought was quite interesting, because more and more people are becoming aware of these connections to control systems around these words like child. So I am choosing to look at using the word child in relation to this inner child healing process, because obviously that's how we viewed ourselves when we were growing up. That's how our mums and dads viewed us. I will be shying away from using the word parent, because again it is connected to this parenting, this control systems way of viewing those who've born the babies, the offspring, their sons and daughters, the bairns, and it's a controlled way of seeing us as the mums and dads, as the those who reproduced and created the life that is that then son or daughter, or bairn. And bairn is a gender neutral word, so there's no way of anything coming back with that word about like not considering gender equality. It's actually described on etymology as a gender neutral word. So that is the birth certificates were created to keep control of the population, and it started with the church leaders being encouraged in the 1500s to register births, deaths and marriages. Always, as with all these things, to be seen as a way to care for the population, but ultimately it's always been about control. It's always been about controlling the people, keeping us play small, stopping us from standing in our own power on the land with our rights, our inalienable human rights, to live off the land, or not off, not off the land in that way, but from the land, with the land, you know, and that, you know, you want to go down looking at who owns the land that we live on, how hard it is to like get a piece of land and claim your rights to live on it and build on it and grow food on it, to survive and thrive on it. Big rabbit hole there. I was recently just watching a video on the land registry and how hard it is to find out who genuinely owns a piece of land, so that you can apply for the correct planning rights even if you do want to, you know, build on it. It's very, very interesting subject to go down. But that's my little bit for today. Why don't you generally say happy birthday to people? Why I would much rather wish you a happy solar return. Why the word birth is not generally one that you'll catch me saying when I talk about people giving birth or having a baby, bearing a baby. You know, we can talk about the word labour, how that has been used to describe the process of a baby coming into the world. Like it's like my refusal to use the word work to define what I do, so that I feel lighter, feel more creative. I can bring this energy of playfulness into what I do, because I'm not working. It's not a hard, heavy word. And like that is how labour, it was like women labouring to bring forth their baby into the world was another system of control to make us think that it's hard work. And if you've ever watched an animal giving birth, unless there's a complication, unless there's anything difficult, like you know, a breech birth of a deer or other animal birth, yeah, it's a difficult word when in relation to that, so like avoid altogether. Oh shit, I said it. But yeah, if you've ever watched a animal pushing out their baby, then a lot of the time, and I've watched my cat give birth 3 times, one of my cats that we don't have anymore, have her babies 3 times, and it was never hard for her. She wasn't labouring. She was, you know, just letting her body do its thing, and that's what bodies should be able to do. And that it should never be labour. It should never be hard work to have a baby, to bear a baby into the world. It should never be hard. So that's it. It is a control mechanism. People can think and say all they want to say, but it was about the church controlling the population, and then ultimately the crown, which controlled the church, controlling the population. Take what you want. Go down that rabbit hole. Highly encourage you to. Until next time, I did not expect this to be today's video, I really didn't, but yeah, until next time, enjoy.